Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. It is, what day is it? It's Thursday, September 25th. The month is flying by, but the ostriches don't fly. They're still in their enclosed area. The standoff continues out there, and we're not going to talk too much about that tonight. We've given that a lot of attention. We'll touch on it, but not much more than that. We have other news to cover tonight, not the least of which is Alex Jones returning to YouTube and then being banned again, sort of. I'll explain. And we see that Russia has declared that NATO is at war with them. This is a very strange prelude to war, or maybe build up or beginning of war. I keep seeing Russia say that, well, they said they're at war with NATO and the West. Then it was no statement really came back from the United States, the EU, NATO acknowledging it. And now Russia is saying, and now they're at war with us too. But there's been no formal declaration of war from this side. It's a very odd situation. We'll dig into today's top news stories when we come back on the other side. Stay with me.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All kinds of news coming out of Ukraine tonight and the United States. It's largely, I think, because of this pivot that we saw from Donald Trump yesterday, where he said that he thought Ukraine might be able to win back all of its territory and seemed to throw his support behind Zelensky, sort of. At least he's, we're going to sell the weapons to European countries and they can support Ukraine and then they can win all their territory back. I expect things will change tomorrow. That being said, we're getting reports tonight that Ukraine's armed forces have confirmed there is a large-scale Russian offensive underway in the, and I hope I pronounced this correctly. I apologize. I'm just an Anglophone. I can't pronounce it. Dnipropetrovsk district. Here's the map. I do apologize for my pronunciation. I do not speak Ukrainian, Russian. or German, and I barely speak any French, but enough of that. You can see from the map where this offensive is reportedly building up. So the conflict there continues, and it is spreading because Putin continues to probe into European, EU, NATO territory. We have received reports as well that 2 Hungarian Gripens were scrambled from Lithuania to intercept 5 Russian jets that were flying not in, but close to Latvian airspace. Of course, we've seen heightened concern in recent days because of drones and jets near and or in NATO airspace in Poland and Romania, Estonia. And you can see here are some images of the interception. We're told these are images of the interception taking place. You can see the Russian jets, and there's a close-up. Of course, in the fog of war, who really knows what truth is? So there's that buildup. All this while we're seeing comments tonight from, this is very concerning, Russia, Lavrov saying if Russian jets are shot down, even if they enter any NATO country airspace, that would instantly trigger World War III. And yesterday at the UN, was it yesterday? I'm losing track of my days. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. Trump said that he thought NATO countries should shoot down, or European countries should shoot down Russian jets if they enter their airspace and violate sovereign airspace. The NATO countries are still, I think, talking, trying to figure out a more organized response to these threats. But as all of this rhetoric flies back and forth, it's very clear that we are closer now to World War III than we have ever been, maybe just one shot away. Like literally, and it looks like we are on the verge possibly of that happening, because we're also getting reports that Russian jets have been flying near Alaska, and I've heard conflicting reports about this. I don't know how accurate these reports have been, but US and Canadian jets flying to intercept these Russian jets off the coast or near US airspace in Alaska. We've seen reports like this before, but then I've seen other reports saying that those reports are fake. I think there's credibility to them. So I think that's probably accurate. But here, I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. So here, this is mostly on social media, not hitting mainstream media, any of this stuff. And this is coming really from channels that follow the rising tensions between Ukraine, NATO, Russia, United States more closely. This is Mario Knopfel sharing this one. U.S. Aerospace Defense Command scrambles as Russian planes buzz Alaska. So it says 4 Russian military aircraft, 2 Tu-95 Bear bombers and 2 Su-35 fighters are intercepted off Alaska. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, confirmed they were detected inside Alaska's Air Defense Identification Zone. The U.S. scrambled heavy, an E-3 radar plane, 4 F-16s, plus 4 KC-135 tankers. The Russians stayed in international airspace, never crossing into U.S. or Canadian territory. Moscow loves flexing its long-range bombers near Alaska. Washington loves showing it's watching and ready. It's Cold War theater with 2025 hardware. They didn't cross the line, but they made sure we saw them at it. It says, I'm reading, these are not my words. There's also this story, which I've been taking note of as well. German military satellites stocked in space. And Sky News reporting on this. I can bring up the clip that seems to be making the rounds tonight. Let me do this and bring that up. Okay.
Just getting some breaking news from the German defense minister, this is Boris Pistorius, saying that 2 Russian surveillance satellites are currently pursuing 2 Intelsat satellites used by German forces and others. Intelsat satellites used by German forces and others, the German defense minister says, are being pursued by Russian surveillance satellites. The use of the word pursued, I can't give you any more insight or intelligence as to what exactly Boris Pistorius is saying here. But the Reuters news agency then going on to say that he's made the comments that we must no longer ignore the fundamental threat that Russia poses in space. This is the German defense minister, and obviously we've seen this huge uptick in the number of satellites being deployed into space, both from militaries and also from people like SpaceX under Elon Musk, and it is getting a very crowded field up above us. But interesting, this line, like I say, 2 Russian Luck-Olymp surveillance satellites currently pursuing 2 Intelsat satellites used by German forces and others. This is coming from the German defense minister, and obviously this is all set against that backdrop of Russian incursions into Estonian airspace. There's 3 fighter jets that were there for 12 minutes. Also the 19 drones and a single missile that entered Polish territory a couple of weeks ago. There's also these questions whether Russia denies any association with the situations over airports as well in Europe in the last few hours. But this now, the situation in space, we'll bring you more on that as we get it.
So everything is ramping up. Everything is very tense. One shot, and it all goes to hell, quite literally. Let's just take a little look over on RT just to see what they're saying. I have not looked yet. So this is all new to me, and hopefully it's all new to you too. Because hopefully we're getting the most recent stuff, but I do want to check their headlines, because I want to get their perspective for balance. Is NATO trying to false flag Trump into Ukraine? So that's their take on it, saying basically that a lot of this rhetoric or this information that we're getting here might be designed to not just mislead the public in the West, but maybe the president himself, and suck him into some sort of a conflict to get him to commit the U.S. to support Ukraine and become directly involved in the war. Let's take a look at the story. This is opinion, though. It's an opinion piece. Until now, this is by Rachel Marsden. Until now, U.S. President Donald Trump has shown no real interest in the Ukraine conflict beyond wanting to put it to bed in time to collect his Nobel Peace Prize. Now, suddenly, he's publicly adopting the position that Ukraine could not only take back their country from Russia on the battlefield, but also maybe even go further than that. Yes, get all their land back, he said. Does he really believe that? Not likely, but there's money to be made in peddling American weapons to NATO countries, notably in Europe, under the pretext. Guess he figures that if this isn't going to be wrapped up before the peace award deadline, then he may as well just take the war profits as a consolation prize, as long as America doesn't have to get its hands dirty, since the EU's continental geniuses keep saying how keen they are to do all the dirty work. What else do we have? Okay, here's the NATO-EU waging war story from the Russian perspective. So the Ukrainian crisis was provoked by the West, what they say, which is now directly participating in it. This is from Lavrov. He says, so the top diplomat made the remarks today at the G20 ministerial meeting held on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. It says the refusal to follow the UN Charter, which is a manifestation of neocolonial ambitions, prompts regional wars and raises global tension, Lavrov stated, invoking decades-long unresolved conflicts in Africa and elsewhere. Says another clear example is the Western-provoked crisis in Ukraine, through which NATO and the European Union have already declared an actual war on my country and are directly participating in it. So there's the quote. That's the money quote right there. Another clear example is the Western-provoked crisis in Ukraine, he says, through which NATO and the European Union have already declared an actual war on my country and are directly participating in it. So he's saying NATO is already at war with Russia. He's also said that, and Putin has said that Russia is at war with the West. They've essentially said that. But nobody on the Western side other than Ukraine has indicated that they are at war formally. No other country has taken that step. But there's clearly conflict, and there's clearly a strange dance going on. And it isn't clear exactly where Donald Trump stands on anything at this point. It just depends on the day. Now, I know that Pete Hegseth today, too, is calling or organizing an unusual meeting of sorts of hundreds of generals and admirals. So what do we know about this? I guess this is going to happen at a Marine Corps base in Virginia next week, and it's sowing confusion and alarm following the firing of a bunch of senior leaders this year. Of course, we've seen a purge going on throughout government institutions since Trump coming back to power. So this is a very unusual directive. People don't know what to make of it. They're not sure what this is really going to be about. It was sent to just about all of the military's top commanders worldwide. And this is all information come from about a dozen people who are inside, familiar with the matter, quoted by various mainstream media sources and some journalists who are on the military beat. And this directive, I guess, to participate in this meeting was issued earlier this week against a backdrop of a potential government shutdown. So as we witness this, we see that Hegseth is really taking some pretty bold political moves. And Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell has affirmed that Hegseth will be addressing the senior military leaders early next week, but not offering up any other details. So there's a lot of speculation out there tonight. We're short on information, short on details. We really don't know. But Trump and J.D. Vance both downplayed the significance of this meeting today. Trump asking, why is it such a big deal? Vance appeared with Trump today and said that it's not really that unusual. The generals are speaking with Hegseth. And he says, I think it's odd that the media, or you guys, as he put it, made it into such a big story, although it does seem a little bit off-center. There's a lot going on out there. Gaza, Ukraine, Venezuela, the buildup down there. That's kind of fallen off the radar for media in the last few days, but that's still happening out there too. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Might learn more about it in the days ahead before the meeting. Hopefully we get a handle on what it's about, but to do something on that scale with that many senior military leaders, something's up. How about that? How's that for detail? Something's up. That's what we know. You got the scoop here, along with everybody else, which is we don't know what the hell's going on. But why would we? The world's upside down. And it's so upside down that the former FBI director, James Comey, has been indicted. Happened today. And this comes after President Donald Trump said days ago that The Attorney General should prosecute his political enemies. Oh my. So it's a 2-count indictment. The charges are false statement and obstruction. Attorney General Pam Bondi has issued a statement that does not name Comey in the indictment. That did not name Comey, that the indictment reflects the Department of Justice's commitment to hold those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. She says in this that we will follow the facts in the case. I think I have the post from Pam Bondi. Let's take a look at that. Could see this indictment coming over the past few days, so this is really not a surprise tonight. Here's what she posted on X/Twitter. Some people still refusing to call it X. Attorney General Pam Bondi, no one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case. Over 500,000 views on that. She's a very popular Attorney General. Oh, there's one of those Pam Bondi action figures. Everyone needs one of those for Christmas. Those things are, they're funny. Epstein's client list right there in the top of the packaging, and arrests made, and it's empty. They're funny. They're funny. Okay. I don't think James Comey is laughing tonight, though. He's got to deal with this now. He's in a bit of trouble. What goes around comes around, as they say, right? Yeah. Comey. There's a guy I know Trump really does not like at all. Okay, let's take a little break.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, what else do we have for you tonight? Okay, so just briefly on the ostrich farm, it continues out there. I'll tell you, this in an information war, the first casualty in this case is definitely truth, because I'm seeing all these streamers coming online, and they're all just regurgitating the same basic narrative, but they're ramping it up. And look, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. There's very little truth around any of this tonight. And people are just following the emotion, not thinking this through. People commenting, live streamers just spouting off, repeating lies, absolute wrong information. Not really looking into the real info, but it sounds good. And so, hey, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So much so that I'm like, they're literally today, saying that the CFIA, the government, is out there torturing the birds. That now the government's torturing the ostriches. Right here. Breaking: the RCMP and CFIA are attempting to torture the ostriches before killing them by making them starve. Okay? Believe whatever you want, but if you believe that, then you are in the same camp as the people who believe the information that was sent to me overnight from one of the people who told me to STFU after sending me a video that I've now added to my list of top 10 stupidest videos of all time. See, because I'm told that I don't know what I'm talking about and that I'm lying and that I need to STFU because birds have no lungs. Like, what? People, yes, this is the crap that people, this is how stupid this whole thing has become out there. This ridiculous ostrich story has now, it's just gone to Looney Tuneville. A guy who looks kind of like he might be credible producing a video saying it's not possible for birds to get bird flu or any kind of flu because they don't have lungs. So then I'm told that I should STFU because I obviously don't know what I'm talking about, because obviously birds can't get flu because they have no lungs. They do have lungs. They don't work like human lungs. They're different. They're kind of rigid. It depends on the bird too. The respiratory system in a bird is not like a human's respiratory system. But they have lungs, but they can't cough. Yeah, birds still sneeze. And yeah, they do get bird flu. It does exist. It's a real thing. And I'm just tired of the stupidity. And really mostly I'm tired of the lies and the BS and just the way the whole thing has gone down. And that's my editorial comment on the stupid ostrich story for tonight, with just a barrage of people trying to shut me up by telling me to STFU and then sending me stuff like that, which makes me feel like I am compelled to talk about it, to try to at least give some people some sort of factual information, but people are not interested in that. They just want to save those ostriches, even though I pointed out again last night that the pressure coming from the US side is coming from people who are sitting idly by in the Trump administration, while 30 million other birds have been called on the US side of the border. Really got to ask yourself, what the hell is going on out there and what's the true agenda? I'll tell you this, it's also not what they're telling us. That's really what the issue is here. It's not what people are being told about the ostriches. It's what you're not being told. I used to go into, this is a little perspective for you. When I worked for a lot of years, worked in newsrooms, it was every morning editorial meetings. And we would sit around, or you'd be on a phone call into the meetings with the assignment editor, the news director, the assistant news director, all the people, all the other reporters. Sometimes the videographers would be in there, the camera guy, people, you discuss the stories of the day. The stories were chosen. But you see, what I learned very early on, even in J school, was that it's not just how you report on a story. Sometimes, a lot of the time, it's what stories you choose not to report that can affect the editorial perspective on something. And it isn't just what you report. It's also what you leave out of your stories. That's important. And when you're spinning Excuse me. I must have been affected with the bird flu. Oh, but it wouldn't make you cough because, it doesn't affect lungs because birds don't have lungs. It's how you report. And if you're a political activist or a propagandist, then you also get to where you want to be in the information war by selectively putting information out there and omitting some important things as well. That's largely what's been going on out at that farm. And because you get the drive-by media going in there, including mainstream, some of which has been, I don't think that they're biased on the story so much, but they're in their effort to be fair, they're just saying this person says this, that person says that, but mostly it's the people at the farm who have been speaking, and they haven't really been conveying all the information to the MSM. And those reporters generally are not given the time to go out and dig and do any real investigation. They go out there, they cover that story, they're there for a few hours, they go home, and they don't really dig in. So you're not getting much investigation. You're just getting dictation. She says this, he says that, and the people out there, the neighbors and so on, they haven't really been given too much of a voice with regard to that. I just bring this up because what I've noticed in the last 48 hours, something very, very odd. You may recall that when we first started reporting on this, there were probably about half a dozen people online who were presenting an alternative position or alternative perspective to what the people at the farm were putting out. And a lot of the information was accurate. And I dug into the story as well pretty deeply because at first I didn't want to cover it at all. I don't want to get into it. But then it became, a pretty interesting story with some real meat on the bones. And so I got sucked into it because, as a journalist, I can't resist a good story. And this is a pretty weird one, and it's good. Anyway, these other streamers, they were pretty active online at that time. But in the last 48 hours, and they've kind of fallen off the radar. If you want to find an alternative perspective to what the farm is saying, good luck. Because the very odd thing that I've noticed is most of the information that's out there is coming from, first of all, and this isn't the most of the information, mainstream media is providing sort of surface level coverage. Online, it's mostly all on X and Twitter. And it's a full court press right now with the pro-farm Save the Ostrich, team. It's all guns a-blazing. Get everybody out to it's like all hands on deck. And so they're dominating on social media, and they're getting more and more people online, and they're repeating the narrative and it seems like there's therefore more credibility to it because they're repeating and repeating and repeating, and they're all echoing each other. But what is odd about it is you can't find the other perspective. It's almost impossible. You have to really look for it. You have to really, really, really dig. Why? Because it's on X. Because there are U.S. MAGA fingerprints all over this activism. There's U.S. money involved. Who controls X? This is Elon Musk's platform. This is a platform. Twitter is being used to manipulate political opinion in countries now around the world. Steve Bannon has talked about it. Elon Musk himself has talked about it. Bannon has even asserted that, you know, there's no stopping it, that you cannot oppose it because it's so powerful. That is what I'm witnessing as a media guy, a lifetime media guy. I'm very aware of it. It's very obvious to me because what they're doing with the algorithm on X is they are promoting, amplifying all of the pro-ostrich content, putting that front and center in the algorithm. If you want to find anybody with the alternative point of view, you really, really have to search, and it will not pop up. You should be asking yourself why. Why is that happening? Because there's no balance there. That is not censorship per se, but it is manipulation. We should all be concerned about that. Whatever side of this issue you might be on, you should be very concerned about the way people are being manipulated through that platform. All of the platforms really still, because they all have some sort of puppet masters behind the scenes who are pulling the strings, adjusting the levers to give you the information they want to give you. That's what's happening with that. Also, we're going to get into this with Alex Jones tonight over on YouTube, because that's happening over there where they've banned him again. But over on X, it's the opposite, where they're feeding people this right now. It's just the flavor of the day, the story du jour. It's the ostrich thing. And it's being promoted. Make no mistake. And there's big money behind all of this. It's just very clear. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry to tell you. Like, I'm sorry if you feel bad about it. But the truth of the matter is, they're not torturing the damn ostriches. Okay? They are not. What I've personally found concerning, disturbing, and where the protesters lose me is when they thought, and I had some people say, like, they were literally cheering when the hay bales caught fire. That nobody should be cheering for that. And whoever set those things on fire, and it's pretty clear it was very likely arson of some kind. That is where you lose me. Really, really lose me, because the birds were corralled in some of those areas or near those hay bales. If they could have been killed, not euthanized. They would have died a horrific, terrible, painful death, suffering. Burned alive, potentially. A human being, could have been killed when those hay bales caught fire. Not tonight, like last night, but the night before and into the morning. A human being could have been killed. The fire could easily, because the conditions out there are very, very dry. There's a lot of forested area around there. And we have all these problems with forest fires. And that was a serious fire. And that could have easily spread. And yet I'm hearing from protesters directly to me that they're happy about it. No. I'm sorry. But again, I keep saying that. I'm so Canadian. I'm not sorry. I'm concerned and disappointed to hear those kinds of things from people. And it's pretty clear what was really going on out there. And people can point the fingers and try to lay blame on somebody that they want to make look guilty. But no, I think you all know really what kind of happened out there. Also seeing posts, because I do dig posts from people who are going out there with night vision goggles on the way out, camo gear for a protest. Where are you going in the middle of the night with your night vision goggles? What's that all about? Oh, no, it's true. Okay, so this isn't just a typical protest in my view. This is absolutely an information war. This is something much more serious than that. And you can sit there and say, oh, it's just save the ostriches, but is that the cause? Like, come out and support the cause. save the damn ostriches. It's about more than that. But then I think a lot of you know that. You just don't really care what the truth is. And it won't matter what I tell you. Because apparently birds don't have lungs, Rick. So you should STFU. Well, I don't think so. Not tonight, Satan.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow, maybe too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
It is entertaining. Here's this story. This guy is running defense for Mr. Trump in Kazakhstan. The U.S. ambassador to Canada says, the U.S. ambassador to Canada says he takes offense to suggestions that President Donald Trump is uninformed about what his country's northern neighbor has to offer. Pete Hoekstra made the comments today during a tense onstage discussion at the Global Business Forum in Banff, Alberta. Colin Robertson, a fellow with the Canadian Global Affairs Institute, pressed Hoekstra on what the diplomat is conveying to his boss about Canadian sentiment toward the U.S. Robertson told Hoekstra that Trump didn't seem well informed, when he said Canada doesn't have anything that America needs, that's a typo or something. It produces products like potash fertilizer in high demand. Yeah, it's true. Hoekstra seemed exasperated by this question, and Robertson asked Hoekstra whether he empathizes with Canadians who don't take kindly to the president's past musings about Canada becoming the 51st state. Yeah, that's what he was exasperated by. He says, if you want to base your relationship with the United States of America on 51st state comments, that's for you to decide, he said. Well, maybe you shouldn't be saying stuff like that. Then maybe you wouldn't be so worried. I'm not going to pursue that story anymore tonight. You should just maybe the president could choose his words a little more carefully. Oh, yeah, here's another post on the stupid ostrich thing. The police and CFIA are continuing to terrorize this family at the ostrich farm in BC. Well, whatever. See, it's the choice of words. I don't think they're terrorizing the family. You might not like what's going on, but there's again, real perspective. Jesus. Makes for a better headline. Get more clicks that way. I just want to, before we get into this Alex Jones stuff, I just want to make sure we cover off the other top news stories. Oh, Trump's new border wall. First section. It's up in the San Rafael Valley. It's 30 feet tall, made of steel, all black, hotter than a frying pan in July. And Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem is saying that the paint job is meant to literally cook anybody that tries to climb that wall. Some people are calling it not so much a deterrent, but the world's biggest barbecue grill. you want to see the clip? Let's look in. This is, I guess it would have to, it's probably because it gets so hot in the sun. So if you're going to scale it and try to get into the country illegally so that you can then be rounded up and deported to El Salvador and thrown in the gulag for life, you have to wait till nighttime. Here's the clip.
Behind me is the first section of the new border wall in the San Rafael Valley. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it's at least 30 feet tall and painted black. Homeland Security Secretary Christine Nome says the entire U.S. southern border will be painted black to make it hotter for people to climb. Officials say the new wall in the San Rafael Valley will be made of 6-inch squared steel bollards. This particular wall is south of Sonoita and in between Nogales and Sierra Vista. Officials say the wall will continue to be built and replace the vehicle barriers that are currently in place here. While I was here, I could see crews working on the wall. Some people are in favor of this wall being put up to deter illegal immigration. Behind me is the first of the new border wall in the San Rafael Valley, U.S.
Again, perspective. So, first of all, Trump should be applauded because it's environmentally friendly. So his wall, this first 30-foot section, however long it is, it's 30 feet high. It's solar powered. So there's no carbon footprint, at least from this point on. I don't know where the steel came from, if it was imported or if it was U.S. steel. Maybe it was from Kazakhstan, maybe Chinese, who knows? Anyway, I'm sure he's building it on time, on budget, and it's environmentally friendly, solar powered, uses the energy of the sun to literally cook people alive if they touch it and try to scale the wall. So, wow, that's pretty effective and efficient. And I guess, from the other perspective, once that wall is complete, maybe Americans won't be leaving. Might not be. They might not be building it to keep people out. Maybe they're building it to keep you in.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah. Canadian, 32-year-old man, Giovanni Michael Robinson. Used the name Mike, so everybody knew him. He was, I guess, in Wisconsin and has been shot and killed. He was there for a golf trip. He was in Sheboygan Falls, near the west coast of Lake Michigan, for this trip. So police called, responding to a 911 call. When they arrived on a Monroe Street, wherever that is, so I guess a commercial area in that city, they found Robinson. And they applied life-saving measures, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. They say the police there are saying that they think he was shot by someone driving a small, dark-colored SUV. No suspects apprehended. He was born in Stouffville, Ontario, just north of Toronto. and was most recently living in Pennsylvania. He worked with an indoor golfing company and traveled all around the United States to play. So he called his brother, Jacob, I guess just a few hours before the shooting, and he had some exciting news to share. He said he shot his first hole-in-one on hole 13. Wow. Here's a picture of him. So investigators still trying to find the person who did this. There's a picture of him. I don't know. When it comes to travel to the U.S., I'm not inclined to go right now. I haven't been there since the pandemic. I used to go all the time. Used to go to car shows and sometimes just go for personal reasons. Not right now. No thanks. Yeah, here's the story again, just to circle back for a moment. Other media picking it up now. This story about Russia, Lavrov, foreign minister, saying Moscow is in a real war right now with us, with NATO and Europe. There's Politico reporting on it. Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, on Thursday suggested his country is at war with NATO and the European Union over Ukraine as President Donald Trump rethinks his approach to ending the conflict Russian President Vladimir Putin started more than 3 years ago. NATO and the European Union want to declare, in fact, have already declared, he said, a real war on my country and are directly participating in it. Here's he says his comments come off this meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And yeah, Trump they're making note of this too, that Trump called Russia a paper tiger. It was a pretty dramatic shift in tone from Trump. And he said yesterday too that NATO countries should be empowered to shoot down Russian drones that traverse over their airspace. We should not just gloss over this story tonight. That is something that we should be paying very, very, very close attention to, because that he's telling us that they're at war with us again. We've seen sabotage of Western assets, infrastructure, cyber attacks, information warfare. It's full scale and could be escalated. Probably will be. It probably is being escalated even as we speak tonight. Okay. Are you ready to get into this Alex Jones story? So you may have recalled that I said yesterday or the day before, the YouTube will be welcoming some live streamers, podcasters, YouTubers back to YouTube who were banned during the pandemic and so on for political reasons, for political things they'd said, and so on. The program has not actually officially started to bring people back, as I understand it, but Alex Jones wasn't waiting. Of course, he was banned, sort of banned on YouTube. Very proud of that, he has been, and it really hasn't hurt him, I wouldn't say, because he wears it like a badge of honor, rightly so, because that's what you do when you get banned. You embrace it, you don't let it stop you, and then you use it to leverage your platform even more and get more followers. So he didn't wait, though. He went and started a new YouTube channel, but he went even further. and he got himself a Hitler mustache. Toothbrush mustache, and then did this whole parody thing, sort of a parody thing, where he says that his channel was taken over by basically the new Hitler. And so here are some clips of what he was saying over there. As a result of all this, he was banned off YouTube again. Almost as quickly as he came back, YouTube kicked him off again. Him and Nick Fuentes.
Within an hour, it's going to be Jones goes full Nazi, endorses Hitler. Now, when all these comedians do it, it's great, and they do it in movies, it's fine. But they think you're stupid. They will misrepresent and say that I am now a National Socialist, National Socialist Workers Party. That is absolutely not true. Within.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here's another clip. This one's different. Okay, I probably can't play too much of this stuff or I'll get banned on YouTube tonight too, because we are broadcasting on there, but this is what he had to say.
Now, obviously, everybody watching is only thinking about my mustache right now. You are not thinking about all the incredible earth-shaking news I'm about to cover. And that's because as a species, or really any species, we go off the way things look, the colorations of things. What's on a butterfly? What's on a snake? The patterns out there. That's what we have. And so after World War II, for the last 80 years, everything has been a paradigm of, is it Hitlerian or is it Captain America? And the left in Europe and the United States and the UK and Australia, New Zealand, they've continued on the psychology of World War II. And then the Democrats and the colleges and the think tanks and the ADL, they then say that white men are Hitler. Christianity is Hitler. Hillary said a few days ago, we have these evil white men that are Christians, and they're the problem with the world. And of course, she's called Trump Hitler. So have all the other Democrats over and over again. And of course, that was 80 years ago and really has nothing to do with what's going on here today. And that's why the left actually promotes and hypes up white supremacist groups and Nazis and has made tens of thousands of movies about it. And they put out reports. Biden did the #1 terror threat is white supremacy, and there's record level whites attacking Asians when it didn't even exist. You know all that. Trying to brand everything and keep the whole world Hitler versus Captain America, and the globalists and the New World Order and the Israel lobby, they're Captain America, and everybody else is Hitler. And so a lot of people are sick of it, but they're not very sophisticated and have not actually studied that Hitler was a very kleptocratic, totalitarian, megalomaniacal individual. It doesn't mean some of the forces he was opposing were good either, but that's the bottom line. And so that's why I'm doing this social experiment, I think for just a few days. But I don't know. I went to a gas station. I went in a grocery store this morning, and it was spectacular. Being a white guy that has German features, classical German features, and with a Hitler mustache, and it was very interesting. I could tell you it had a wild effect on women. I thought they were about to start throwing their panties at me. And they didn't know why. They were looking at me because most modern women, even young ones, don't really even know even what Hitler is, but they in the back of their head, they know what it is. So they got a guy with, kind of Lex Luthor meets Adolf Hitler looks with blue eyes, and they just didn't know what to do. They're like melting.
Yeah. So he got my attention. Publicity stunt? Yup. Effective? Yup. Information war tactic? Yup. Did I bite on it? Uh-huh. His message shared over here. Parody? Yeah. Political commentary? Yeah. More than that, though, I've noticed, and Nick Fuentes involved in getting online today, also kicked off. Didn't really pay that much attention to what he had to say. This thing with the mustache, though, really caught my attention because I have noticed, even like 2 years ago, I noticed that there are some live streamers out there, particularly on other platforms like BitChute, where that kind of content is embraced by a lot of people. Some of these live streamers actually have taken to sporting a toothbrush mustache. And I've noticed a couple of streamers who actually tried to look just like Hitler on those platforms and spew that kind of crap. But more than that, even in the last couple of months, I don't know if it's strange. Again, it's something I've noted. I'm a little worried about it. I've noticed some prominent live streamers, a few of them, and I won't mention them by name tonight, but they've also grown a Hitler stash. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I've noticed a few. They're trying to look like Hitler. Then this happened today. And to me, all those things I said about editorializing, a political statement, publicity stunt, all that is true with what Alex Jones has done here. But there's another element that is more concerning. It's normalizing things. And he has been instrumental in spinning this new version of the anti-Semitic tropes that plagued society in ways that, led up to World War II and the rise of the Nazis in Germany. I didn't recognize what he was doing for a long time, but it was there. Reshaped narrative, flipping, choosing alternative words so that it masks what the true message is in a way that makes it palatable to people, in a way that they can't recognize the real true message and where it's going. He's been absolutely involved in it. And I didn't recognize it for a long time. I tuned in about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I started to recognize and realize what was really going on. And it normalizes the attitude, really amplified now. And a lot of people grabbing a hold of it because it plays to people's worst side, the darkest side of humanity. I can get into it, in a much deeper way on another broadcast. I've, for a long time, thought we should be talking about it. I haven't really explored it that deeply. But maybe we should. When I'm seeing that, it's not just a joke. Everything that is leading us into this pit of darkness, into this abyss right now, just about all of it has been presented to us as a meme or a joke to disarm us, to make us think that it's nothing threatening, that it's nothing we should be concerned about. It's one thing to fight a political battle using humor against your political opponent, but what is also being done is very negative, harmful, in my opinion, destructive, hateful messages filled with anger and worse are being distributed to us with a veil of humor around it. I even saw a politician out at the ostrich farm over the last few days talking to the protesters. And as I listened to that narrative that was being spun up out there during that exchange, I could also peel away the veneer on the language being used and was able to, finally see what the true message is behind it. And it's very disturbing. People, the general public, responds more to messages that play to emotion than they do to statistics or factual information. That's what's being done with the ostriches. People are being manipulated emotionally. They're personifying the birds, giving them names, turning them into characters, trying to make you feel something for them on a human level by personifying them so that you feel you're compelled to save them. And if anything happens to them, that's murder. Of course, nobody cared when they're being chopped up into dog food from the same farm, from the same owners, until they pivoted to exclusively COVID research out at that farm, not bird flu research. But on the other side, I also see words being used right now by these people whose masks are coming on to reveal in some cases, a toothbrush mustache. Or maybe you don't even need that, because it becomes clear what the real message is when they start using words like vermin, parasites, maggots to describe human beings. That dehumanizes not just a political opponent sometimes, but people that they just want to point fingers at and say, those are the people who are causing all your problems. Those are the people to blame. Get them. That's what's going on. Those are the words, those are the trigger words that are being used right now. Maggots, vermin, parasites. I'm going to say them again so that you are aware. Maggots, vermin, parasites. Maggots, vermin, parasites. Maggots, vermin, parasites. When you hear somebody, a politician or anybody, describing human beings using those words, a gigantic red flag should go up. Because they're dehumanizing people, while at the same time making you feel sorry for some birds, with a narrative that is steeped in lies. And you can have an opinion on how the government is approaching a particular issue on agriculture or trade, and that's fine. But that whole ostrich thing out there, that, I get it. I think most clearly in the morning when I wake up, and I had a lot of thoughts about why the ostriches. Why has this thing been so politicized? Because it just has everything built into it for this anti-government narrative to just causes all this disruption on every single level. It's not about truth. It's just about causing problems for the government by highlighting an issue, a dilemma, a problem for which there is really no real solution at this point. It can only be managed somehow And so it does not matter what the government does. The government is damned if it does, it's damned if it doesn't. If it doesn't do anything, the government is condemned for letting birds die, suffering from bird flu, and possibly passing it on to humans, and you didn't do anything. If they try to manage it by culling the birds, it doesn't work. You see, you haven't stamped out anything. The disease can't be stopped, so why are you killing the birds? It doesn't matter what the government does. It's an unsolvable problem, and the people behind this know that. That's why they've latched onto it. And then beyond that, it taps into all these other issues: government overreach, eugenics, health. They wrap it all up in a narrative and present it to you in a way that makes you think of this as like, it's just like the pandemic all over again. And that gets you incensed, because you don't want a repeat of that. I don't want a repeat of that. That gets me emotional too. And they present it to us that way. You got to stop this. The birds have the answer to everything. They can save us. They're valuable for research, when in fact they have no facility out there, never have had any kind of facility out there that's suitable for any kind of real, true, valid scientific research. Nor have they done any into bird flu, but they were messing around with COVID antigens for a long time. And if you go back and you look at the history of that farm and the way that it actually started, they were actually doing in research with the University of British Columbia into eugenics, selective breeding of those birds. Strangely, those studies have been lost, or so we're told. There's been a lot going on out of that farm that, again, you're not being told. We told you here, but those broadcasts are so long and over so many nights. The information is so broad. There's so much of it that people just don't take the time. You're not getting it because it's not wrapped up in a 10-second soundbite on TikTok, where you're being told the birds are just being culled for no reason. I saw a post tonight, another one, saying that they're being starved because the CFIA found that there was bird flu out there, but they didn't test the birds at all, which they did. Not all the birds, but they found that the virus was present. And they're killing them even though they're healthy because they might get sick in the future. And that's not true. It's another lie, or a piece of information that isn't accurate spread by somebody who does not know what the hell they're talking about. And it's all being done to get you angry. That concerns me, because that's what was going on during the pandemic too. Media spinning up a yarn, getting us all afraid. And they keep doing it over and over again. We got to be afraid. It's always about fear. That's what motivates people. What are you afraid of? What are you emotional about, right? And who are you going to blame? And no, this whole thing is just disgusting. The way people are being manipulated. And it all, the ostriches to the toothbrush mustache, it all dovetails, it all intersects. All these things come together. Yeah, even the eugenics, it just, it's being presented to people in a way that it goes back to the 1930s, McCarthyism, I think back to the way that people were led astray back in those times as well. There were even the issues. I remember still, the desegregation of the blood supply. It was an issue, a political issue, if you can believe it. Yeah, you can believe it because it happened. People are like, I don't want any black blood in me. Because there was a time when people believed that if you had even a single drop of black, well, some people still believe this, if you have even a single drop of black blood in you because of like interracial marriage or whatever, then that makes you black. Because you can only be white if you're purely white. Otherwise, you're not a white person. I don't know where these people, where people fit in society if you are of like, I thought we were kind of beyond all of that, but we're not. And that's partly what's going on at that farm, because the farm is all about eugenics. The farm is all about that kind of research. The farm is all about, and so is the chicken, the poultry industry, all of these things. It all comes down to eugenics. Why are chickens today more likely to get sick and die from bird flu? In fact, not likely, they will. If a flock of chickens gets infected with bird flu, the H5N1 or any of the other variants, anywhere from 60 and more likely 90 or 95% of the entire flock will die a painful, horrific death suffering if left. Not so with ostriches. Ostriches are more resilient. Not as many of them died, but 69 of those ostriches did die this time when they got infected, and they've had repeated infections of things in the past not reported properly. This outbreak back in December, they tried to hide it. Fact. I'm not telling you that. No, but I get people saying, no, none of the birds died, and they just won't test them. They're going to kill them anyway because they might get sick. It's not true. Believe what you want. I'm not going to lie for people. I'm not going to just join the mob, and I'm not going to bend the knee, and I'm not going to STFU. And I'll share my observations, not so much to editorialize, but to give you perspective to help inform so that you can make better decisions going forward with more complete information. I can't say that I can give you everything to help you make fully informed decisions. You should get information elsewhere as well. But I'm sure as hell not going to lie. There's too much at stake. Shame on all of those live streamers who are just regurgitating the BS. Some of them are paid. Some of them don't know any better. Some of them are doing it just for clicks because they're making money from their streams. Some of them are just stupid. A lot of them are just reckless. And shame on people who normalize the dehumanization of people. Shame on the people who are taking us down these dark paths to a war over pretty much nothing. Shame on the people who keep appealing to us, to our darkest side. And shame on people who just don't take the time, don't care enough, even about themselves, to learn enough to make a good decision, because we keep failing the test. History. Is it rhyming? Is it repeating? I don't know. But it's coming full circle. Anyway, I did take note of the other streamers out there who have been sporting the Hitlerian stash over the past couple of months, growing one. It's like they're all in lockstep. It's not an accident. They're doing it on purpose. It's part of a coordinated information campaign. They are normalizing it. It's no accident that Alex Jones appeared on YouTube sporting that mustache. He wanted to get banned. It helps him. Got him on this program. And by getting banned off YouTube, he makes a political point, scores some more clicks, and he'll get got more mileage out of that than getting back on YouTube without fanfare. We'll see what happens when the YouTube program actually kicks in and they start to allow some of these people who have been banned, including, one of our channels, a couple of our channels, letting them come back on. Not sure how that's going to look, but it'll happen in the days ahead. But yeah, it's up to you. It's up to all of us to make sure that we're informed. It's now more important than ever. We're literally on the verge of World War III tonight. No exaggeration. In fact, we're in it, but it's about to go kinetic in a much larger way. You can see it. You can smell it. And I don't like the smell of war. I've never had to experience it firsthand. Not in that way. But I'm experiencing it now online. Have been. Fighting every night. That's why I'm still in the chair. That's what we're fighting for around here. Truth. The pursuit of truth. I took note of those mustaches, like I said a couple of months ago. Strangely, I don't know if it's strange. I guess just because I'm so tuned in. And as a result, we created a song about it. I've been sitting on it. I haven't released it, but I've got it for you tonight. It's called Harry Scary. It's a parody song. And I didn't even have Alex Jones in mind when I created the song. When I wrote the lyrics for it. It was because of these other streamers that I had taken note of that I didn't even show you or comment on tonight. But here's Alex Jones popping up in a really prominent way. So, time to pull out Harry Scary and present it to the public tonight. So you get to hear it here first and see the very quickly produced video that goes along with it. And I'll leave that with you here tonight. Here's Maverick and the News Brothers. Harry Scary. I'll see everybody back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
So slick, you're so sick. Adolf 2.0 dirty. This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.